So my happy nerdy ass just got done watching Sony's livestream on Twitch of the PlayStation meeting. This was some shit that I already knew exactly what to expect. I haven't been living under a fucking rock. I've been up to date on all this shit. Like many of you out there watching at home or on the shitter, or you're sitting there sifting between fucking porn tabs, you already knew what to expect. This was gonna be all hardware related. First up was the PlayStation 4 Slim. And they might as well have just come out and been honest. Alright, so the PlayStation 4 Slim, you already know everything about it. There's fucking unboxing videos, there's tons of pictures online. This shit has been circulating the internet to the point that it might as well be a fucking Harambe meme, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Here it is, live and in living fucking color, even though, again, we already know about it. It's a thing, and it's going to be happening, and the PlayStation 4 Slim is essentially going to be the main PlayStation 4 that's going to be out there for everybody to pick up and love and hug and stuff something inside of, because everybody's got a fucking fetish or two that they need to be able to just do behind closed doors and not share on the internet. So that was talked about. It was just like, okay, well, I already knew to expect that. But then, so Mark Cerny comes out, and I swear this motherfucker was channeling Bob Ross in every single way. I just want him to have like a tuft of fro popping up out of his fucking head, because this motherfucker was so relaxed. If he did not get high as fuck before this shit, man, I'm the fucking Queen of England. Like, he had to have been. There's no fucking way. It was just way too relaxed, way too fucking chill. But still, he started talking about the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is the PlayStation 4 Neo that's been oft-rumored and talked about, and personally, I have a bias towards the PlayStation 4 Neo name. Might be the whole Keanu Reeves love that I have going on, the whole Matrix love that I have going on, but still, Neo sounded cooler, but they went with PlayStation 4 Pro. Beefed up GPU, beefed up CPU, 4K output. Everything that we already knew about, but they had dropped the price tag while talking about this, and that was the important thing. This right here is going to be $100 more, so it's going to be coming out at $400. I have no fucking clue what it's going to be over in Europe and Japan and all the other shit, so just shrugs for fucking days. I don't know. Sorry about that. But this is what they talked about during this particular press conference. And I know that there's plenty of people, they were pissed off, jaded, and fucking angry as hell. They're like, this shit was boring and fucking stupid, and blah, 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 and what the fuck? Why wasn't there any games? I'm like, man, we just had E3 and Tokyo Game Shows coming up. This is a sandwich of software, and this is the fucking hardware that's going to be like the beef right in the fucking center of that bitch. So that's pretty much what's happening with that, and that makes the most sense to me, and I'd rather them strictly focus solely on software rather than just break up the shit in between. The thing that I thought was kind of strange though was no Vita love. Not a single goddamn mention of the Vita. I feel so bad for that thing. Like, I want to hug it. I want to fucking just pat it on the head, but like, everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. I mean, all the third-party developers out there are still making games for you. Limited Run Games is making games for you, so they care, right? You've got the entire indie market making games for you. You got all of PSN. It's just Sony doesn't give a fuck that you exist. At all. This shit's still selling pretty good, too. That's the thing that, like, kind of fucks my head up. I'm like, so this is still selling well, but you don't even talk about it. No new iteration, no new features, no new game, just fucking nothing. So we'll see if there's anything at Tokyo Game Show. But moving back on to the whole PlayStation 4 thing. They had talked at great lengths about HDR being a high dynamic range and shit. I'm just like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. So we're talking about better colors, you know, deeper blacks and like brighter whites and all that shit. Deeper blacks, I don't know how many fucking Pornhub videos are gonna be able to pop up in recommended section, but who the fuck knows. Anyhow, I already know that the whole, what is HDR? That shit's gonna be out of fucking control with the amount of people typing into the search, even though it was explained the entire time, but this shit was admittedly a fucking snooze fest. They took what was essentially 10 minutes worth of information and stretched it out as far as humanly possible. Like, it was just, it took fucking forever for them to get anywhere. Like, they were showing off plenty of games that they were like, look how different Call of Duty's going to look, and look how different this is going to look, and that's going to look. They're talking about how old games are going to be patched to be compatible with this shit, and how there's going to be a patch next week on all PlayStation 4s, so this shit isn't just exclusive to the Pro, but all PlayStation 4s will begin a patch for this, because there's plenty of people out there that do have a 4K television, but there's way fucking more that don't. Like, I've got a 4K television, but I'm a fucking tech aficionado. I love jumping on those fucking things as early as possible. I mean, I got that bitch hooked up to my fucking PC right now, and that's a beefy-ass gaming rig right the fuck over there. So I've gamed in 4K a couple times. It's been nice, you know, when you get to see Fallout 4 in 4K, it's a fucking sight to see. It's nice. Batman Arkham Knight, without all the fucking glitches and shit, because again, the PC version, they fuck that thing hard. Luckily, it works just fine now, but that in 4K, again, just good shit right there. But now they're talking about, well, 4K gaming and 4K this and 4K that, and we already got to see all the shit with Project Scorpio that's coming out from Microsoft, and that shit's gonna be next year. But this is like night and day. From what I'm seeing is the PlayStation 4 Pro is essentially just an upgraded PlayStation 4. Whereas Project Scorpio might as well be a next-generation platform system. Like, this shit is above and beyond a new system. And I don't know what the fuck they're going to price it at, because those parts cannot be fucking cheap. That was the smartest thing that they did, was say with this, yeah, it's only going to be $400. Now, while most motherfuckers are not going to want to pay anymore, and there's going to be an equal amount of people who are just like, wait, what the fuck? I just bought a PlayStation 4, and now you're announcing this shit, and it's coming out this fucking year, and I feel ripped off. I feel fucking ripped off. And there's a lot of folks out there that will feel that way, and understandably so. I personally don't mind, because I've had my PS4 since day one, and upgrades are inevitable. I mean, whenever I get a fucking phone, after a couple years, yeah, that shit's pretty fucking outdated. And it seems like this is the last console generation. From here on out, it's just going to be upgraded set-top boxes that are compatible with all the past software. It's just that newer versions look a shit ton nicer, because you aren't just running that shit in 1080p, if you're fucking lucky, because even still now, it's hard to find nothing but games that are running in 1080p, 60 frames a second and shit. So I'm hoping that devs are going to be able to truly do something with this beefed up hardware. To me right now, it feels like what they're showcasing is what they originally had planned, but back whenever these systems were launching, there was no fucking way they were going to get that out without breaking the bank and just doing $599 US, $599 US, $599 US, and we became a meme. Memes for days, memes all day. That's how the internet rolls, and that's how we go and convey our disgust, admiration, outright confusion sometimes about a lot of this kind of shit. Just, why would you go and do that? It was just fucking silly. Still ended up being the second best-selling console of last generation. That's kind of impressive. Still though, took a long time for them to go and do that. But the PlayStation 4, they were showing off that, you know, okay, the old games will begin 4K patches and shit. They had talked about Netflix and YouTube are going to have special apps made specifically for PlayStation 4. I'm assuming that they got to see, yeah, there's a lot of motherfuckers who watch our video content through the PlayStation 4, so that's why they were throwing at it. The Xbox One Scorpio, whatever fuck they're gonna end up calling it, that's more than likely going to have its own, and depending on what Nintendo decides to come out swinging with the NX, if that shit's gonna be coming out in 4K and has all sorts of multimedia apps that you can go and download and use on there, that again will end up having some shit like that. But there's a lot of times I just sat there watching this and I was wondering, it's like, so you do realize that you're talking about how beautiful and cinematic and illustrious 4K content and HDR is, but this stream is outputting at like 360p right now because, man, it looked like fucking shit, and I have a really fast internet speed. So it's like, a lot of this shit is getting lost in transition, so understand that you're trying to go and translate to us that this shit's beautiful, you'll be able to see all this shit, there's a big difference. Like, look at the color range now, that shit's so much better, you're able to see so much more detail with a beefed up resolution. Yeah, that stream is fucking jacked up, I'm just saying. Jacked the fuck up. So hopefully at some point there'll be re-uploads of this shit, like in actual 4K, so for those of us out there with 4K displays that are going to be streaming this shit, we'll be able to see the actual difference. Because it was just kind of hard to see. They're just like, we'll let Watch Dogs 2 speak for itself. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, Watch Dogs 2 isn't like the best example. A lot of the other games were a much better example, and I mean, where's the glitches? I don't believe that was a real Ubisoft game. There was no fucking glitches. Where's the day one patch? Will that look different depending on if I'm seeing it in 4K or not? Well, the world will only know. So, and the entire thing was basically like, felt like they were also trying to sell us on 4K TVs. Like, did anybody else get that vibe? I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm watching it, I'm just like, alright, yeah, I get all this shit. And it's a lot of techno babble the entire time, but this is all shit that I've known for the past couple of years whenever I started looking into getting a brand new television, because my TV was really old, and I said, fuck it, I'll just go and get this, because I got it for dirt ass cheap. So why the fuck not? Get prepared for the next generation. But now I'm like, man, OLED curved 4K television sets. That shit looks amazing. So then you start thinking, yeah, everything's just out of date. Tech's always moving forward. And then when you think that you're up to date, yeah, this shit, just like that, outdated. Boom, that fucking sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, fuck, that is some fucking deep third city. Sorry about all that. So, we're getting new systems. PlayStation 4 Slim, the PlayStation 4 Pro, all that shit's coming out this year. It makes a lot of sense for them to go and bring out this year. They're showcasing this shit for, what is it, November 10th, I think is the release date for the Pro. And I mean, that shit's kind of close, but that's like the perfect time. Personally, I'd be aiming for October, but maybe that's a bit too close. People are still going to be saving up and trying to go and put this part of their, like, shopping catalog of, oh, well, for Christmas I need this and this and this. Figure they've got the PlayStation VR sets. They're going to be coming out. So I guess they want to have the PlayStation 4 Pro go right along with all this shit and just drop this all at once. But is it a bit too much hardware? That's one of the questions I have to ask. Is it too much hardware all at once? And with all the software titles out there, is this going to cause any amount of consumer confusion? Because you got to take into account that while myself and many of you out there are up to date on all this shit, and we consider it common sense because this is a world that we live and breathe. Think of how many people out there that are just kind of the casual consumer that just likes to go and pick up the shit. And this is gonna be fucking confusing as hell. They're like, well, what do you mean? What's a resolution? Like, what do you mean, a 4K? Who's that? Is that what? And explain this shit. I've worked in retail for many, many different years. I've worked in sales, also always one of the best motherfucking salespeople ever. But when you have to explain all this shit, it's confusing as hell. So are they gonna have the separate display units, like this is a PlayStation 4 with a 4K TV, and then this kiosk over here is just a regular ass PlayStation 4 Slim with a regular ass 1080p TV? Oh, PU, who wants that? You really want to buy this shit because, I mean, look at all that. And it kind of makes me wonder, are they gonna do another PlayStation display? Because they had that PlayStation 3D thing. Remember when 3D was going to be a thing? And I know most people have written off the whole 4K is just going to be a fad, but I heard the same exact thing about 1080p whenever that was coming out, and everybody said, well, why do I have to move away from my tube television? It looks just nice. Like, dude, No, this is like some old RCA shit from like 1993. That looks like puckered butthole. Stop that. Like, when I see those TVs side by side, I'm like puckered butthole mouth. Like, why? But now we need those kind of TV, at least the good flat screen ones for all of our old school games. Trust me, you're not playing a fucking gun con on an LCD TV. That shit ain't happening. But overall, I'm excited about some of this shit, because 4K gaming, like, once I got to experience it, I was like, man, this is fucking great. But it's not something that's going to make or break a game. I mean, there's games out there that are straight up visual splendors, that are eye candy, and it's all about just aesthetic appeal. So with a beefed up resolution, developers are able to go and get more out of the hardware and make their games kind of just stand out more and look much prettier. And I dig all that shit. And the idea that they'll be patching the old games, which was something in the past video I said, they will have to do this to make this shit work, because there's too many games on PSN. There's too many games that came out several years ago that are still being printed right the fuck now. Over there. For PS4 alone, I'm around like 80 games deep. And that's just disc. That has nothing to do with the fucking digital titles. 80 games deep. Of course I want that shit to be updated. It'd be fucking asinine not to. But is this something that, with Project Scorpio and PlayStation 4 Pro, do you think this is the kind of shit that ends up pissing gamers off? You know, I know that there's plenty of people who are just like, what the fuck, I just got done spending all my money on this. And they see that. Is that going to cause them to go and sell their shit? I have absolutely no clue at all, but still. But with the beefed up GPU and the CPU, does this mean at some point down the road we're going to end up seeing games that are going to just, without a shadow of a doubt, not just look prettier, but overall run better? Like, infinitely better by comparison, making you just regret having the older system. And is there ever going to be any games that are going to work strictly for that? Because that's where they will fuck up. I personally don't believe that'll happen, because Sony's a bit smarter than that. but still the idea that anybody's getting left out in the cold just because they went and bought your system first, that's the kind of shit that is able to ruin public image and make people just shy away from it. And I've heard plenty of people also say some shit like, you know, why the fuck am I gonna bother with all this? I'll just go get a PC. I mean, getting an up-to-date rig that's going to run shit, like, at a phenomenal level is pretty goddamn expensive, and I'm speaking from personal experience. Me and my best friends have been building computers since we were fucking like 15. And that's the kind of shit that, you know, we love and do, but it costs a pretty goddamn penny. If you just want something quick and easy and shit, you know, there. I mean, you could go opt for a Steam box. There's always that. Just, I'd rather have the regular controller. The Steam controller, I don't know. Would like an HTC Vive though. That shit, just too expensive. Everything's too fucking expensive right now when you don't got that extra money, but all this is coming out around Christmas time, so that's the best time of the year to go and release this kind of shit. But the question to all of you out there is, will you be getting a PlayStation 4 Pro? Will you be getting a Slim? Do you already have a PlayStation? And if you already do, does this make you want to go and upgrade? Does this make you want to go and get rid of this shit? Are you just waiting for Project Scorpio to come out? How do you think this is going to change? Is this going to change anything about the field right now? You know, with how gaming is. I mean, we've seen pro systems last generation. We've seen definitive versions of consoles that were like, well, I mean, that's the must-have version. Why the fuck would you go and get that little beater fucking Geo Jeep? Or you could go and get this fucking Escalade over here. You know, it can be a night and day type of situation in comparison. Either way, this is AlphaOmegaSin. As always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers game the fuck on!